Well, as you just heard, South Africans will be looking for quite a lot from the finance minister. They want him to bolster their personal finances, improve the economy as a whole, and boost job prospects. But just how many items on people's wish list can Mboweni tick off? Let's find out from Maura Fedderson from PwC, an economist at PwC. Thanks so much for your time, Maura. I appreciate it. So you heard what people had to say. There are so many things that South Africans want. What can the finance minister actually do in the medium-term budget?
Well, one of the expectations for the budget tomorrow is that there will be more details as to how exactly government will stimulate economic growth and job creation. So President Ramaphosa recently announced a fiscal stimulus package, which essentially entails a reallocation of funding towards areas that will have the biggest impact, for example, agriculture and tourism. But the question is, where exactly will those funds be diverted from, and where exactly will they be going? Another expectation for the budget tomorrow is that there will be some relief for consumers who have been increasingly under pressure. Tax increases, the rising fuel prices and slow employment growth have been putting households under increased financial pressure. So it is possible that there might be news as to which additional items might be zero rated in terms of VAT. Plus, perhaps there might be measures to reduce the growth in fuel prices in coming months.
How does government do that, though? Will they have to decrease fuel levies, the road accident fund as well levies? Can they actually do that when we're struggling in terms of the economy?
It's a really difficult thing to intervene when it comes to fuel prices because we are at the mercy of global oil prices as well as the exchange rate. So we may not see those news tomorrow. However, it is quite possible that some additional items would be zero rated. And the panel has suggested, for example, nappies, sanitary products, school uniforms, certain parts of chicken and white bread. So this would give some relief to South African households.
So let's talk more about job creation, because we had a job summit recently. There was talk about incentives to stimulate job creation in the country. There was also a proposed infrastructure fund. What does the finance minister have to do and say to actually see all of those things become a reality?
So it is likely that he will speak to those recent events, and he will still need to emphasize, though, that as much as additional funding will be made available or additional investment will be attracted, that there will still be a very strong commitment to fiscal restraint as well. So over the last few years, South Africa's government debt to GDP ratio has been on the rise. Credit rating agencies have been downgrading South Africa's credit rating. And so it's important that tomorrow's budget is on balance credit neutral or credit positive, so that Moody's, the last of the top 3 credit rating agencies that has kept South Africa in investment grade territory, can make the decision to retain South Africa's credit rating. This will be crucial because it means that the cost of debt will remain under control, and it will mean it is much easier to attract the investment funds required for the infrastructure fund, for example.
Yeah. Now, what about our economic growth? Does he revise that down to be more realistic, in line with what is coming out of ratings agencies as well, and the World Bank, for instance?
That's highly likely. South Africa entered a technical recession in the second quarter. At the beginning of the year, the National Treasury still expected growth of around 1.5% in this year. However, in the first half of the year, we've only seen 0.6%, so lower than expected. It is likely that there will be a downward revision to economic growth. However, this is quite expected already.
How important is a medium-term budget? What are the little moves that can be made to put the country back on the right path this late in the year?
There are certainly some decisions that can be made. For example, there's an expectation that there will be some announcement in terms of potential moves of funds from areas to other areas where impacts could be bigger for economic growth and job creation. However, it is also about perception. So will it be clear that government will be committed to fiscal restraint? And in that way, the budget tomorrow will be very important.
Yeah. And lastly, very quickly, are we going to see the issue of service delivery concerns being addressed in this budget? Or do we not have the money for that?
Service delivery is still possible, even if it is important to be careful with spending. So it's all about operational efficiency and making sure that we get more for our buck.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. That, of course, was Maura Fedderson, PwC economist.